America is still reeling after taking a 1-2 punch from Superstorm Sandy, then followed by a nor'easter with snowstorms that knocked out power. As today began, more than 500,000 people remain without power in New York and New Jersey.
Ooh, but the Big Apple, Gordon, is dealing with another problem. Heather Sell reports on gas rationing.
Gas shortages in Sandy's aftermath have immobilized many and led to long lines at the pump. Now New York City and Long Island are following New Jersey's lead. Starting this morning, they'll ration gas, allowing customers with odd-numbered license plates to fill up on odd-numbered days and customers with even numbers to fill up on even days. Power is still an issue for many, and the second nor'easter that swept through Thursday didn't help.
The wires spark. Every day they spark from somewhere else. You don't know what's live.
That second nor'easter blanketed the region with snow and plunged some back into darkness.
Oh, it was great to have it, and then we lose it again. It was extremely frustrating.
The region's mess is also hampering the nation's air travel. On Wednesday and Thursday, the airlines canceled more than 2,000 flights. Nonprofits like Operation Blessing are helping with recovery efforts in key locations like Mystic Island, New Jersey, and Breezy Point, New York.
Operation Blessing is going to set up a table here. We're going to take work orders and start helping people gut their houses, clean their houses out, start putting their lives back together. So this is a community that sure does deserve everyone's prayers and all of our hope and all of our help. So we're going to be here working for quite some time now.
The damage estimate for Sandy right now up to $50 billion. That's the second most expensive storm in U.S. history, right behind Hurricane Katrina. Heather Sell, CBN News.
If you want to help those in need in New York and New Jersey, we encourage you. All you have to do is call us, 1-800-759-0700. Just say, I want to be a part of helping people in need. Our slogan here, our motto is, when disasters strike, we want to strike back. And we want to strike back with very tangible help to people in need. So if you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is say, yes, I want to give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. All you have to do is write to that address that's on your screen, or you can just call us, 1-800-759-0700, or you can go to cbn.com. There on the website, on the donation page, there's a place where you can designate your gift to disaster relief. So do it now. Help those in need. For some of these people, it's going to be at least 30 days, according to some reports, before they get power back. So that's well past Thanksgiving. We need to step up our help to help those in need. Well, while the Northeast struggles to recover from storms, another group of Americans is working to help those who serve in our military. Lee Webb has that story from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
That's right, Gordon. Veterans Day is this Sunday. The holiday takes on greater significance every year because we lose more than 800 World War II vets each day. And our younger generation remains on the battlefield in Afghanistan. That's why one group wants to start a new tradition this Veterans Day. Paul Strand has their story.
Sherry Lamonte of Austin, Texas, believes America's military does and has done so much for the country. Every American needs to acknowledge them this coming Sunday on Veterans Day.
At noontime, no matter where you are, to be in silence just for a moment and to show gratitude and thanksgiving.
She says those who defend and fight for America richly deserve this time of silence and prayer.
Most of our military thinks that we've forgotten them. So instead of forgetting them, not only are we thinking about them, but we're going to be praying for them.
Lamonte's Frontline Faith is working year-round for service members who it's found starving for spiritual sustenance. It's put 30,000 of these MP3 players in troops' hands, players full of spiritual food.
It's over 7 hours of religious content. The chaplains say, thank you for bringing God to our soldiers and our soldiers to God. They need these players.
But with it costing about $24 a piece for these MP3s, Frontline Faith is finding it needs much more support from fellow Americans if it hopes to fill this spiritual need for the hundreds of thousands of troops wanting them. Paul Strand, CBN News.
Meanwhile, millions of Christians around the world will unite in prayer Sunday for the International Day of Prayer for the Persecuted Church. The annual event is a time for standing with those who suffer for following Christ. Attacks against Christians in nations like Nigeria, Pakistan, and Egypt are increasing. But as Gary Lane reports, those are not the worst places to be a Christian.
Christians are under intense pressure in Muslim countries. But North Korea tops the Open Doors list each year as the world's worst persecutor of Christians. And little has changed for Christians nearly 1 year after the death of Kim Jong-il. His son and successor, Kim Jong-un, is continuing efforts to rid the nation of Christianity. Christians are arrested, imprisoned, and even executed simply for believing in a faith other than the state religion, known as Juche, self-reliance. We've protected this North Korean Christian by hiding his face and calling him by a different name. Mr. Bae was imprisoned for evangelizing a friend.
There were interrogations, tortures, but the most difficult thing was sitting still on the floor without moving my neck, arms, legs for more than a year.
That's when Bae was freed from prison. He says God, not man, delivered him from death. Bae told his story to Reverend Eric Foley, CEO of the Colorado-based ministry Soul USA. His family experience of Christian suffering is detailed in the new book, These Are the Generations.
The same kinds of things from North Korean defectors and underground Christians for 10 years. But it was very hard to find someone willing to talk about these things on the record. But for Mr. Bae, he spoke openly because in his family, his mother and father, who are in a concentration camp, had prepared for their whole lives for the reality that likely that's where they'd end up as a result of their evangelistic activities.
And how should Christians pray for North Korea and suffering believers around the world?
Mr. Bae talks about a kind of persecution that we face in the West, which is the persecution of prosperity. We don't normally think of prosperity as a kind of a persecution, but really, every day, prosperity enables us to not deny ourselves, but instead to deny the cross because our religion brings us comfort. So what Mr. Bae and the other North Korean underground believers told us is pray that we will each be found faithful in the situation that the Lord places us to overcome the persecution under which we exist in order to represent and witness to the goodness of the Lord faithfully.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Wow. You can find out more about the International Day of Prayer for the Persecuted Church by going to our website at cbnnews.com. We spoke to Eric Foley Gordon yesterday on our Newswatch program to hear the North Koreans pray that God would not necessarily remove them from the situation that they're in, but that God would cause them to be faithful where they are. It is a powerful prayer.
It's a very powerful prayer, and it's in line with what the apostles did in Acts chapter 4, where the Sanhedrin had forbidden them from preaching the gospel. They didn't ask for deliverance from that. They didn't ask for God to change the Sanhedrin. What did they ask for? They asked for boldness to preach the gospel, and that signs and wonders would follow, that God would stretch forth his hand and perform miracles, that the gospel would go forth. This Sunday, encourage your pastor to lead the whole church in a prayer for the persecuted church. We need to pray for our brothers and sisters, and there's so many countries where it's restricted that they're not able to even meet together to pray, where in some countries it's illegal to possess a Bible, to have a prayer meeting, and we need to lift them up in prayer. At the same time, recognize that they're praying for us. Years ago, I was with a group of persecuted Christians in a restricted country, and I wanted to pray for them. They stopped me. They said, no, don't pray for us. We want to pray for you. And we want to pray for the Christians in America, that the cares and concerns of this world would not choke the word and make it unfruitful. Wow. So recognize they're praying for us just as we're praying for them. Christy?
Wow, that was beautiful. And you know, you can't help but watch those stories, Gordon, and just remind ourselves the importance and the gratitude of religious freedom that we have here in America. I tell you what a wonderful gift.
It well,
Come
and
on,
understand
brother.
that we need to preach the gospel with boldness today.
Absolutely.
Anglican Christians have a new spiritual leader today. Archbishop of Canterbury Rowan Williams retires this year, and his successor is this man, Bishop Justin Welby. He's a former oil executive, and he's been a bishop for only 1 year. He reportedly comes from the evangelical wing of the Anglican Church and is said to be an opponent of same-sex marriage, but he does say that he's examining his own thinking on that issue prayerfully and carefully. That issue, of course, and the appointment of homosexual bishops have caused deep divisions within the Anglican communion. Queen Elizabeth approved Welby's appointment. Operation Blessing is helping thousands make better lives for themselves through micro-enterprise projects. In Uganda, Operation Blessing helped a skilled seamstress by the name of Beatrice. She was struggling to provide for her family in the slums of Uganda Operation Blessing provided her with her own sewing machine and a temporary home until she can afford rent on her own. Her children are fed and taught at a school that Operation Blessing supports. You can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to their website at ov.org.